Hello and a warm welcome into the show. Coming up this week, Tasmania's burgeoning food scene, a look at Australia and China's tourism ties, plus Virgin and Qantas go head-to-head in the onboard Wi-Fi race. First off, though, holiday travel plans thrown into chaos for thousands of Queensland families in the wake of Cyclone Debbie. But tourism authorities have said Queensland is open for business. They're encouraging us to spend up.
Days after Debbie's wrath, the sun is out, and with it, sun-seeking holidaymakers.
It's going to be winter soon, got to make the most of it.
On the Gold Coast, beachgoers returning after days trapped indoors.
It's a little bit grey, but yeah, you can still see the bottom. Yeah, it's not too bad.
It's put a smile on local business owners who took a hit.
Thursday was probably the worst day. It was like a ghost town in Surfers. There was just nobody around.
But the tourist bounce back won't be as quick in the cyclone-ravaged Whitsundays. Most businesses expected to be closed for at least a month.
Operators there are working very hard, and if you want to give them a chance, consider taking a holiday a little later in the year.
The region's tourism market is worth $700 million annually. $2 million lost each day the region is out of action.
These are big dollars, a lot of income for the region.
Holidaymakers affected by Cyclone Debbie should first seek refunds and alternative arrangements with their airline, accommodation provider or travel agent. The Insurance Council says domestic travel insurance may provide some cover, but less than 1 in 10 Aussies actually take out a policy when travelling locally.
Most of Queensland is open for business. The sun is out again.
Just the message we need with 2 weeks of school holidays ahead.
Well, for more on Queensland's tourism sector in the wake of Cyclone Debbie, plus analysis of all the latest travel industry news, Schweitzer, the General Manager of Travel Daily, with me in studio. Well, welcome to you, Christian. The furore that's erupted over the handling of flight scheduling, almost a rerun of Bali and ash clouds and all the rest of it. Put into context, what's the emerging handling of this looking like?
It was a very difficult circumstance for the airlines. Yes, they absolutely have a duty of care to their customers. Their safety comes first, but the logistics and the coordination of getting people out of the affected areas there was certainly something very, very difficult to achieve. And perhaps what's gone underreported is that the airlines have actually collaborated with each other. So Virgin talking to Qantas, talking to Jetstar, in terms of scheduling flights into affected areas like Hamilton Island, taking your rescue workers, taking freighting supplies and rescue equipment to these areas there to really help with the relief effort. It's difficult, because customers are affected. Certainly some will have grudges there, but the airline certainly did communicate to its passengers via websites, social media, and the selling agents about the suspension of services.
What are we looking like, though, as far as a longer-term sense of this is not destination du jour? A bit like Kaikoura, New Zealand, South Island, and fresh tremors.
Yes.
Never mind Christchurch, which of course we do mind about, but you get my point. I mean, how long realistically does this area look a no-go zone for in the minds of tourists? Yeah,
well, we've been keeping an eye on some of the larger tourism operators like Hamilton Island, Hayman Island, Daydream Island, and certainly they have been impacted by the furor of Cyclone Debbie. So, some of the areas have been damaged, there's a lot of debris, so there definitely is a clean-up effort, and of course everyone has a vested interest in trying to get that up and running sooner rather than later, and so you do have the state tourism ministers really urging particularly domestic travellers to get back to Queensland because money is what's really going to help them out right now.
Well, let's hope that the facilities can match the expectations on money spent from now on. Let's cross, because you talked about switch ideas. You talked about collaboration between Virgin and Qantas. When it comes to the war in the skies, there has been no white flag hoist, has there, between the two on Wi-Fi? Yes. Indeed, Virgin seeing Qantas's ceasefire as a little bit of an excuse to encroach and maybe go one over.
Absolutely. Well, I do like the war metaphor there. Right. But yes, certainly it would appear to be tit for tat. But in truth, both airlines have been planning Wi-Fi up in the sky for years to come there. But really exciting news for Virgin Australia is that they are now testing their version of in-flight Wi-Fi. So on their Boeing 737-800 aircraft flying between Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne, for the next 3 months they'll be testing Wi-Fi. They'll be working with a company called GoGo and telecoms company Optus to fit 2 dishes onto their aircraft, one for upload, one for download, and each aircraft is said to be able to get speeds of somewhere in the order of 70 megabytes per second, which sounds great for the aircraft, but here's, I guess, the devil in the detail, is that, you know, if you have 35, passengers, streaming on the aircraft there, that's going to slow the individual speed down quite significantly. So the actual speed per passenger might be somewhere in the order of 2 to 3 megabytes per second. Good for standard definition TV. The high definition TV, well, question marks remain there, but they'll be testing that with a free service over the next 3 months.
How does this change what Qantas was endeavouring to do as the in-flight entertainment system offering? Reset expectations.
Right.
Does it do that realistically, or do they fall back on the same issues as Qantas encountered?
Well, I don't think that Qantas will be too threatened by this, because what they're promising when eventually their service gets up and running is download and upload speeds of somewhere in the order of 7 to 12 megabytes per second. So, in theory, they'll be claiming a superior product and a superior guest experience.
Okay, so it's like Telstra V,
Optus.
Vodafone or Optus, that's right. Meanwhile, Economy X.
Yes.
So, I mean, first they brought us upper class.
Yes.
Now the offering via Virgin Australia, that's to say not Virgin Atlantic, brings you Economy X. What are we talking here?
Well, this is all about increasing yield on the seats sold there. So it's a brand new product.
Like Uber X?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Taking inspiration for that, maybe.
Yeah, so indeed. It's the first 3 rows on their 737-800 aircraft. That a new product, so you get additional seat pitch, 34-inch seat pitch versus 31 in standard economy. Priority boarding, you get priority meal service, you get a dedicated locker for overhead locker for your luggage, if you're flying from Australia up to the United States, for instance, you get complimentary Bose headsets as well there. So there's some more features and benefits.
And a nice touch might be an Uber X trip to the airport. I mean, you heard it here first. Okay. Yeah, we'll cut the ticket on that one if you follow up on it. Speaking of the international dimensions, this is not a Virgin kind of freebie show, but just let's put it to bed with LAX on the radar now, ex-Melbourne, right, for Virgin.
Inaugural service took off this morning. Much pomp and ceremony down in Melbourne. In fact, I was talking to the Chief Marketing Officer of Virgin just this morning at a travel marketing event, and there's a lot of expectation behind that. Currently, 500,000 Australians per year travel from Melbourne up to the United States, so Virgin really want to get more market share there. They'll be introducing their Boeing 777 service. It has the award-winning business class called the Business on it. They'll be flying it 5 days per week from Melbourne up to LA. One of the best things about this particular service is that you leave around about 11 a.m. In Melbourne, and then when you arrive in Los Angeles, you arrive at 9 a.m. So you've still got that full day ahead of you as well.
Very good for the informed business traveller, well rested and ready to power on, fight to win. Let's talk about the creativity around Gulf carriers now. This is all referencing the ban on electronic devices imposed throughout North America from offshore flights coming in. How are they finding ways and means around this?
Sure, so here's how they're managing it. So with Emirates, you can use your laptop or your tablet right up to the point where you embark onto the actual aircraft. They'll then take your device, store it safely, then return it to you at the other end. They're having a little bit of fun with it at Emirates. They've deployed Jennifer Aniston to, tongue-in-cheek sort of, don't bother with the laptop, use their award-winning multimedia service and you'll be fine. Etihad are taking a slightly different tack. They'll be granting business and first class customers iPads to use for the duration of the flight and waiving all internet charges as well. And then Qatar are doing something different yet again. They'll be issuing MacBook Air laptops to business and first class guests. There'll be a certain amount of free internet streaming and then a very nominal $5 charge for the duration of the flight there. So that's how the 3 airlines are dealing with this rather inconvenient...
Are they dealing with it because business travellers from the Middle East are showing that much pushback on it, that they have been forced into this? I mean, just put into context.
Yes.
Yeah, that through train traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yes, there are a certain amount of leisure travellers travelling business class, but then there is a heck of a lot of business travellers travelling business class. And when they're up in the sky, they want to work. They want to access their spreadsheets, PowerPoint presentations, ready to hit the ground when they're in the United States. And that certainly, this particular ruling is an impediment.
Let's switch to talk hotels, because it's intriguing. Just as soon as Mantra up sticks to a degree and puts down markers in Hawaii, and Australian historic kind of link with Australia, Outrigger, comes back into play for an Australian return. Now, inspired by the Mantra jumping across there, phenomenal? What do you think the impetus was?
Yeah, I don't know if the parallels are there, but it is quite interesting that, yes, Outrigger hotels have indicated that they will make a return to the Australian market. They pulled up stumps back in 2015, selling their modest portfolio to the Mantra Group for $29.5 million. But Outrigger themselves have a new venture capitalist backer, KSL, based in Denver, and they have very ambitious expansion plans. So what they've told us is that they're interested in getting back into Australia. Their preference would be for Queensland, which makes sense given that many Outrigger properties are beachfront locations. Whether they manage an existing property or whether they look to build remains to be seen there, but certainly Queensland is their preference.
Right, so Dexter's can breathe easy because its new offering in Sydney won't be affected by that, it would seem. Let's switch to Lux Resorts and Hotels, Iki Adela with the Australian firm Workshop. So just give me some context for this. What is the reference here point?
So Workshops is an Australian company. They have premises in Sydney, Brisbane and Melbourne, and they run all sorts of arts and crafts and life skills, so alternative courses there. They were fundamentally tapped on the shoulder by Lux Resorts and Hotels, a very boutique luxury 5-star resort. And essentially what Lux want to do is bring these workshops, these Australian-led workshops, into their properties across Mauritius, the Maldives, Reunion Island, so that their guests will be learning things such as Japanese bookbinding, Tibetan sound healing, mixing natural tonics for remedies and things like that to really enhance the guest experience beyond just simply flopping and dropping.
Who goes on these? Who uses them? Have you been on one? I mean, is this an all the family offering with the youngins as well in on it, or is this really for singles? Is it for? I mean, who's going to be learning the art of of origami, for instance?
Okay, so
and the Maldives.
Indeed. Well, their primary target market, Lux, is Western European, so French, British and German. But they are seeing more and more people come from Australia there. So what better way in which to, I guess, drive the market than to give it a little bit of an Australian touch there. Primarily couples and, baby boomers would stay at this particular resorts.
All right, well, we will watch with interest. And incidentally, I'm a bit of a pedant, but I'm sure that Lux has an E on the end of it. But in the event, we will go back and double check. But thank you so much, Christian. Always value it. Christian Schweitzer.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Of course, Travel Daily General Manager, no less. Let's move on for you.